It's good to be back again this week on your number one energy news program on television here at Africa Independent Television, AIT. And as expected, this week also promises to bring you interesting headlines that shaped conversation around the various value chains in the energy sector in the course of the week. On our 7 days in energy sector segment, we shall be bringing you stories where we are told that federal government, in a meeting with critical stakeholders in the electricity generation value chain, met in the course of the week to discuss modalities on how to settle the 4 trillion naira debt owed the various generation companies. The whole idea, according to government, is to offset this debt burden which has hung over the years to allow smooth operations for the generation companies to improve on their efficiency, if you like, service delivery as far as that sector is concerned. The government says after meeting this target, Nigerians could be rest assured that the distribution of electricity would greatly improve in the coming months. Also in the week, some group of experts in the oil and gas sector also converged where they called for the full implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act, talking about the PIA document. The argument of the experts is that the comprehensive implementation of the PIA document would drive and boost oil production in Nigeria and also drive energy security and sustainability of Nigerians' energy future. That story would be part of those other stories that will be coming up in our 7 days in energy sector segment. Also in that segment, we shall be leading you in one of the developments in the course of the week, talking about the meeting between the Nigerian government and Germany. The two authorities met in the course of the week to find ways and strategies of reducing impact of gas flaring on communities. That story will also be coming on this 7 days in energy sector segment, alongside another development which occurred this time in Lagos in the course of the week, where a group of lawyers under the spidel of the Nigerian Bar Association say that issues of environmental injustice and climate change issues, which have also combined to impact communities, would soon be a thing of the past. The argument of this group of lawyers is that free pro bono services would be offered to ensure that communities who have been negatively impacted are unable to get services to address some of these consequences of environmental degradation arising from the activities of oil and gas companies in their areas would be addressed when this pro bono strategy is fully implemented. The lawyers also argue that beyond environmental and climate change issues, which is one of the focus of their agenda, other areas where Nigerians have suffered deprivation arising from inability to access legal services would also be looked at. All these stories, with some other interesting stories, would form the focus of our 7 days in energy sector segment. I still remain your host, Afemike Ebigie. We shall be going straight into that segment now, and we'll come back thereafter. We are starting this week 7 days in energy sector review from Nigeria's federal capital, Abuja, where the federal government disclosed during the week that it has finalized the comprehensive implementation framework for the 4 trillion naira presidential power sector debt reduction plan for electricity generation companies. The meeting with the distribution companies, led by the Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, accompanied by Minister of Power Bayo Adelabu and other government delegation, concluded modalities for the outstanding debt payment to the electricity generation companies. This intervention, according to government, is the largest in over a decade and seeks to address a legacy debt overhang that has constrained investments in the power sector in the past. Some oil and gas experts have called for the full implementation of the Petroleum Industry Act to boost Nigerians' oil production output. The experts, in a media briefing in the week under review, noted that implementation of the PIA will help drive Nigerians' energy security and open window to unlock untapped resources which abound in the country.
PIA, if implemented according to the intent of the law, you cannot have 37 billion barrels of oil and producing 1.4 million barrels per day. No, it's too low. You are supposed to have the possibility of producing at least 3% in number of your 37 billion. So you are supposed to be able to produce 3 million barrels per day.
I think you cannot get away from the informal economy. I'm calling it a nice name. There is a lot more produced than goes through official channels, and it is a known fact. So the people who bring out certain numbers understand the numbers, and this is what they believe should come out. I'm closely connected with the PIA, but I recognize it as the beginning of something, and it's a tragedy when the beginning has not even occurred, if you know what I mean. But to really make sure you have implementation, you need informed people who are not just saying, oh, well, you know, God will provide or God will do it. Yeah.
Also, in the course of the week, we were told that talks are on between the Nigerian government and the German authority to find ways of commercializing and addressing environmental challenges facing Nigeria, with suggestions for the implementation of flare gas reduction technologies to minimize greenhouse gas emissions and unlock economic values. The Flare for Value meeting between both authorities, with the theme Germany Nigerian Flare for Value Gas Flaring Reduction, Unlocking Economic Value through Gas Optimization and CHG Mitigation, brought together major industry players in Nigeria's oil and gas sector.
The reduction of gas flaring in Nigeria's oil and gas sector offers a tremendous leverage point, not only for climate action, but also for Nigeria's energy security and industrialization ambitions. The gas that is currently being flared could power households and industries, generate electricity, and contribute to Nigeria's economic growth.
The Flare to Value initiative therefore represents a practical expression of partnership, translating policy aspirations into tangible results by supporting gas flare capture, commercialization, and low-carbon innovations.
The NUPLC gas flaring and venting regulations of 2022-2023 prescribe strict measurement, reporting, and metering obligations for flaring sites, foundational for accountability and carbon market credibility. The PIA's host communities provisions of Section 234 to 257 guarantee that host populations share in the benefits of gas projects.
The days for injustice on environmentally impacted communities like those in the Niger Delta may just be over, arising from long years of sufferings due to gas flaring and other activities from the operations of oil and gas companies in these communities. This is just as the special section on public interest and development law of the Nigerian Bar Association says it is entering partnership with Cyrus R. Vance Center for International Justice to offer free legal services to deprived Nigerians in various areas of life, including those who have suffered from environmental injustice.
Our goal is to support non-profit organizations, sector organizations, So it means that we're helping CSOs who are working on ground with issues that affect community, vulnerable groups, and on diverse issues. One of them is the environment. So we've been able to support and advise or get lawyers and co-counsel with them to advise on the just transition, for example, in Nigeria. Globally, we work with the UN Special Rapporteur on the right to a healthy environment to look at what constitutions and what legal framework already exists before he puts out his report. So those kind of things are ways in which we believe that lawyers and law firms can be a resource when it comes to functioning issues, especially around climate change and environmental rights issues, which is very fundamental at the moment.
What we do is to promote class action and protect the interests of the vulnerable people in the society under the auspices of MBA, Nigerian Bar Association. There are three stands, so there are three sections in the Nigerian Bar Association. One is the business section, one is the legal practice section, and SPIDEL is the third section of the Nigerian Bar Association. And what we do generally is that we generally out to protect the interests of the Nigerian people, particularly those who are low-class people.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has called on critical stakeholders to partner the Commission in tackling all forms of corruption in Nigeria across all various sectors, including the energy sector. Chairman of EFCC, represented by the acting zonal director of the Lagos office of the Commission, disclosed this during the week in Lagos at a stakeholders workshop organized for journalists, civil society groups to keep them up to speed with the workings of the Commission. Some of the civil society groups who spoke on the sideline with AIT applauded the Commission's anti-corruption strategies, calling on the EFCC to beam searchlight on critical sectors of the economy like the nation's energy sector.
The decision to organize this workshop underscores the strategic importance the EFCC places on your roles as watchdogs of society. Your ability to inform, educate, and mobilize public opinion is a critical asset in the fight against corruption, fraud, and other economic crimes.
The energy sector, the corruption in the energy sector is endemic, just like in other facets of our national life. And of course, I sincerely believe that the anti-corruption agencies, are more after the political exposed persons, and recently against internet fraud, internet fraudsters. But I've not seen major intervention in the energy sector.
Welcome back, and glad to know that you are still tuned to your number one energy news program on television. At this point, we shall be going straight to that special segment where critical stakeholders in the nation's energy sector share their perspectives on the state of the energy sector in Nigeria, look at the challenges, and also provide solutions on the way forward for the sector. On this week edition, we shall be bringing you or sharing the perspectives of a former Minister of State for Mines and Solid Minerals, talking about Uche Oga. He would be on the show this week to look at the state of the electricity sector, oil and gas, including the mining sector. We shall be going straight to that interview now.
As we are
all aware, the successive federal government of Nigeria has set an unprecedented energy reforms agenda in motion in recent years. First, in the Petroleum Industry Act, signed into law in 2021 by their former president, late President Muhammad Buhari. It has been reshaping our oil and gas sector and the governance of the oil and gas sector. We can see that it has actually brought into the pivotal removal of the fuel subsidy in 2023 by the incumbent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which has revamped the oil sector towards curtailing corruption and revamping and creating savings for more revenue for government. And of course, we also have Electricity Act, also signed into law in 2023. That is defining how power is generated, transmitted, and consumed. This landmark legislation repealed the Electricity Power Reform Act of 2005 and shifted the electricity landscape from a centralized, federal-dominated system to a more decentralized, private sector-led and multi-tiered market, while also empowering states to regulate their own electricity sector. Yet, according to the Nigerian Society of Engineers, at its 29th edition of the Nigerian Society of Engineers October Lecture Series held last February in Abuja, the power reforms have not fully translated to tangible improvement or achievement of intended goals. The NSC president in his lecture noted that installed national power capacity remains around 13,000 megawatts, with actual generation still below 50% of that figure after how many years? Among factors that are said to be responsible for the power inadequacy, despite reforms, are gas supply constraints, transmission bottlenecks, and commercial inefficiency, curtailing and cutting across the entire electricity value chain. So, three major energy challenges remain daunting for Nigerians as of today. First is ensuring that the energy and power reform deliver tangible promise results to justify the reform. Second, challenge is maximizing the value of our hydrocarbon endowment before it declines. And third is delivering universal, accessible, and affordable energy to every Nigerian household. What are the reasons? Persistent underinvestment, aging oil fields, oil theft, industrial unrest, security threats, particularly in our Niger Delta area, continue to erode the production volumes. Without coordinated policy enforcing the robust financing, the PIA promise risks remaining on paper. The inevitable horizon, the energy transition, the global shift towards decarbonization is not a distant possibility. It's already reshaping markets. For Nigeria, the transition is the greatest economic opportunity in the 21st century. Our solar irradiance, that is how much energy is being received from the sun. Wind corridors in the north and the youthful tech-strand population positions us to become a renewable energy powerhouse. The Federal Energy Transition Plan envisions 30% renewable capacity by 2030. a target we can exceed with decisive action. Our proposition today should be simple, very, very simple. It should be, first, Nigerian energy future is not a choice between opportunity and risk. It is a challenge to navigate both dynamics together. Success will demand a pragmatic, multi-pronged strategy that leverages our strengths while confronting our vulnerabilities head-on. The dual imperative, a realistic foundation, the unfinished business, oil and gas. Oil and gas remain the backbone of our economy, accounting for roughly 70% of our export earnings and supporting millions of jobs. The Petroleum Industry Act gives a clear roadmap to capture more value, but only if we act decisively. The opportunities. Gas commercialization, turning abundant associated gas into LNG for export, CNG, LPG for clean cooking, and feedstock for petrochemical and power. Projects such as the Torugu gas processing facility illustrate how a single plant can convert flake gas into marketable products, reducing emissions while adding billions to the GDP.
Again, we have come to the end of yet another week of interesting package, hoping that you have enjoyed every bit of the segments that we have brought to you today. You still have the opportunity of watching this edition in case you missed the live telecast on our terrestrial platform. Just access our various social media platforms showing on your screen right now. Until I come your way again next week, it's goodbye and have a blessed week ahead.